Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. If you like making money, this is the channel for you. Join our community. Join us for the ride up in the commodity cycle. I think everyone's going to have fun doing it. Hopefully, I've got a relaxed approach here. I want everybody to feel relaxed on this channel. Fling comments around. It's okay. I'll answer, in video format to a lot of your guys' questions when you have them. One of the questions or one of the statements, and I'll expand on it, is I was listening to a precious metals investor who says that once silver hits 50, every $5 it goes up after that, silver stocks will go up 25%. I thought that was interesting. He said this is a trade of a lifetime. I hope so. I'll be loading up on silver. So he's talking about the producing companies, and a lot of their, I'll go with the high cost producer. A high cost producer that produces at $25 an ounce. And if we're at $25 an ounce, is making no money. Now, when silver goes up, let's say it goes to $50 an ounce. If you're making no money at 25 and all of a sudden you're making $25 an ounce on each, $25 an ounce on each ounce of silver, your profit has gone up an infinite amount of times. And that's why I always talk about the high cost producers and how the leverage to the price, that's called leverage. That leverage to the price can be substantial. So even though the price moved $25 to $50, their profits expanded an infinite amount of times because you can't divide by zero. They weren't making anything if they're a $25 cost producer with silver at $25 an ounce. So all of these commodities, this can be put into any of the commodities. The rewards can be substantial because a lot of the high cost producers are not making money in some of these sectors that are down in the dirt. For example, uranium. Now, when things reverse, there's a couple of things that I look for as a commodity investor. I look at how long does it take for these companies to start a mine. And uranium, it is a very long time to get one from exploration, develop, and then produce. So even if the price were to go up, they can't just turn the mines on and get going very quickly. Even if mines were producing, it still may take a year or two to get them back up and running. So we could, and I think what's going to happen is we have some idled capacity in, say, uranium, and the price will come up, and then it'll have to jump to a certain level before mines can start coming back on. That demand will be met by the mines that kind of were put on idle. Once those mines all start coming online and that demand gets fulfilled from the idled supply or the idled producers, once we run out of that, I think you'll start seeing this thing really start to take off. The price of uranium, that is. It's the same thing with silver as well. We're going to hit a certain point where we've got some idled capacity with some high cost producers. We get through that, and it's like there's nothing there. You're going to have to put in new mines, new production, and that's where I think the price will explode higher. The difference between some of these commodities, and there's a large difference. Some of the metals that people invest in and have in their hands, they can get recycled back. They can be sold very quickly. So the precious metals are a little bit different when a bunch of investors have that metal in their hands. They can sell it. They can melt down scrap metal. There's a whole bunch of we'll call it inventory that comes from all over the world that isn't, quote, on the books. It's silverware, let's say. So a lot of that stuff will get sold when it goes way up. So that is resistance to the move, so to speak. In these other ones that are purely industrial metals, not a lot of people have that. They do have some recycling of scrap, like platinum and stuff like that. Palladium, platinum, rhodium. But I think that the big moves really come when you see the industrial demand step in and exceed the supply for long periods of time. That's where the big opportunities are. And I continue to look, and I do videos on this channel. I look at where those deficits are in the metals. And I think that's where the opportunities really are if you're an investor. Now, I look at these things maybe a little bit different than other people. I look at these things as stores of value. I don't look at them as get-rich-quick things. I look at, if I'm going to take my hard-earned money, where can I go and start putting in money for investments and stores of value? And that's where I really focus my efforts on, is what's the metal's value to society, and how can I store my efforts and value in those commodities or companies. And it seems like when I read through things, everybody wants to make a lot of money very quickly. And this is going to make a lot of money, but it may take some time. And we're going to see volatility. You may be down on some positions. You may be up. But what I do is I just continue to pile in if it's cheap. And I may be accumulating for an entire year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I might be accumulating for a long period of time while this thing eventually moonshots at some point. I don't know when that point is. I just know it's cheap. I'm going to accumulate. And sometimes it goes very quickly. I mean, it could be 6 months. Like oil's taken off very quickly on the positions that I started in the middle and end of 2020. So sometimes it happens very quickly and sometimes it doesn't. So be patient, look for value, look for the stores of value. And that's where I think if you can get it all right, if you can buy things that are cheap, and always cost average in when things are cheap, you don't even really ever have to sell, because eventually all these things will move up. And I think that's what really wealthy people do, is they invest, they look for stores of value, they get the value, and then they just stay in it. And I don't see value in a lot of these other investments. I don't see value in cryptocurrencies. I just don't get it. It's not that I don't understand it from the point of view that people are hungry for an alternative currency. I just think they're crappy currencies to look at and evaluate them, because they take a lot of energy. You have to start and put in all this information and your license and all this other stuff to create a wallet. It's like, geez, you really want to be tracked. If you can be tracked and you can be manipulated and stopped and all that stuff. I see it as a security problem. And these currencies they're slow. They don't transact extremely quick. They take lots of energy. They're just bad at what they're supposed to be. And I know people want to go into it just because they're going up in price. I don't chase price. I look at value. And what's the value of some zeros and ones? It's nothing. You can say that it's limited, but it's not. It's not limited. I can create 1 billion different cryptocurrencies, and that's what's happening. How do you know the one that you're in is going to be the one that's chosen? And if this really does compete with real currencies, they're going to shut it down. They're going to tax the living heck out of it. They'll shut it down. I just don't see the viewpoint that maybe some other people are seeing. And again, I want to touch on this. 3 stores of value: precious metals, fine art, real estate. Those are the only 3. It's the only 3 stores of value. Or I should say, they preserve your wealth. Currencies they've all gone to zero. Every single currency. I'm sure Bitcoin will go to zero too, because if it's a currency, it's going to zero. I mean, why did they have to rip off? Why did they have to rip off what gold looks like? Why did they make it a gold coin? Why did they rip off the whole mining thing? The whole thing, I just don't buy it. It seems like it's a scam. And then everything else, currencies, bonds, every single company, it's all gone to zero. It's all gone to zero. So all the real wealth, the way that I see it, is all the real wealth is in Mother Nature, Earth. You've got real estate. You've got the commodities that come from the ground that can be created into usable products. The companies will rotate and change. That does that conversion. Currencies all go to zero. So the way that I view things, and maybe this is just old school, or maybe I can't warm up to some of the companies. The companies are all just short-term vehicles to accumulate more of the real things. That's all they are. You move up your purchasing power for a very short period of time in a mining company. Because remember, mining companies, the very thing, they find a bunch, they explore, they find a bunch of value in the ground. It could be a metal of some sort. And then the first time they start extracting it, they're extracting the very thing that was value, and that company becomes less valuable because it's extracting the very thing and selling it that makes it valuable. So eventually they're going to run out of material in the ground to extract, and their value goes to zero. I mean, that's an oil company, that's any commodity company. And then you've got other companies that just process commodities. They process it through some facility to create it to a usable product. People use those products, they pay money for it. And then eventually when they either run out of the commodity or their design doesn't fulfill or meet the minimum expectations that people have in society, we stop using their products and that company goes to zero. I mean, they all go to zero, which is kind of weird. So I look at precious metals as stores of value. I look at oil as a store of value. I look at these commodities, water, whatever it is, stores of value, real estate, farmland, it's all stores of value. You start getting much past that, like cryptocurrencies, it's just zeros and ones. That's all it is. And that's what you have in your wallet is a configuration of zeros and ones. And you can say that there's a blockchain. Oh, they've got this blockchain. Well, you know what? Blockchain is just the operating mechanism, so to speak. It's kind of like the manufacturing facility that created a car. You buy the car, but you're using the end product. You buy it because of the design of the product, the quality of the product, and the usefulness and utility it brings to you. You don't buy it because it was manufactured with the latest and greatest machines. You buy it because of the product and the cost and the quality. And that's kind of like, what do you have? You have the output of a mathematical equations of zeros and ones in Bitcoin, and that's all you have. What makes that valuable? It's the willingness and usefulness to society, right? As a form of a currency. And if that currency isn't good at being a currency, that's where I get stuck. So thanks for listening to me. My channel, obviously, if you haven't subscribed to it, please subscribe, join our community, give me a thumbs up for this content. I appreciate you guys listening. This is Finding Value.